Hello guys, in this video, you are going to witness a very special match played between two great scientists. This match was played in Princeton, USA. The two scientists were Albert Einstein and Robert Oppenheimer. Before starting the video, please subscribe our channel and press the bell icon. Let's start the video. Einstein was playing from the white side. He started with pawn e4. Robert on the other side started with pawn e5. Einstein played knight f3. Robert played knight c6. Both of them were just taking out their pieces sensibly. Now Einstein moved his bishop to b5. It's a Ruy-Lopez opening by Einstein. Robert moved pawn a6 to threaten the bishop. Einstein moved his bishop to f4. It's a main line of Ruy-Lopez opening. Pawn b5 by Robert made Einstein to move his bishop to b3. Both of them were playing like professional chess players. Now Robert developed his another knight by moving it to f6. Einstein castled his king to king side. Then Robert played a good move by placing his knight to e4. Einstein moved his rook to e1. Robert moved his pawn to d5. Einstein was playing slightly better than Robert. They were playing nicely like a pro. Now Einstein moved his pawn to f4. In response, Robert moved his pawn to b4. Now Einstein moved his pawn to d3 in order to threaten the opponent's knight. Robert moved his knight to c5. Einstein captured the opponent's pawn by moving his knight to e5. Robert moved his knight to e7 and didn't exchange his knight with Einstein's knight. Einstein had a good chance of creating an extra pressure on f7 pawn, so he moved his queen to f3. There was a threat of checkmate in one move at f7, so Robert moved his pawn to f6. Einstein moved his queen to h5 and gave a check to opponent's king. Robert moved his pawn to g6 in order to block the check. Einstein captured the pawn by his knight at g6. Robert's knight was pinned, so he captured Einstein's knight with his pawn at g6. Einstein captured Robert's rook with his queen h8. Robert captured Einstein's bishop with his knight. Einstein recaptured it with his pawn at b3. At this moment Einstein was favored to win the match. Robert moved his queen to d6. Einstein moved his bishop to h6, which gave threat of checkmate in one move, so Robert moved his king to d7. Einstein captured the bishop with his bishop at f8. Now Robert played a good move by placing his bishop to b7. Einstein's bishop was itself pinned, so he placed his queen at g7. Robert again played a good move by placing his rook at e8. It's a nice match, don't you guys think so? Now Einstein moved his knight to d2. Robert placed his pawn to c5. Einstein made a good move by placing his rook at d1. Robert moved his pawn to f5. Now Einstein played a superb move. Guys, pause the video and guess the death trap by Einstein. Einstein moved his knight to c4 and threatened the opponent's queen. Robert's queen was in a great trouble. He had no idea what to do. He captured Einstein's knight with his pawn. In response, Einstein recaptured the pawn with his pawn at c4. Robert's queen was pinned, so he himself attacked Einstein's rook. Einstein captured Robert's queen with his rook. Now Robert's king was in check, so it moved to c8. Now Einstein captured Robert's knight with his bishop. Now nothing was left to do with Robert, so he resigned the match. It was a very special match between two physicists. Hope you guys liked this video. We request you to subscribe this channel and comment down your opinions regarding this match.